Unerwartet singt eine schöne Frauenstimme.
Young and lovely. Yeah, and a girl from King's Rock. And when she was they all sang. Good evening, everybody. You're listening to Fold by Fold, the podcast on experimental music, new music, improvisation, any kinds of experimental music. Today I'm talking to the great Ollie Turbitt, who's a guitarist, composer, producer, and also head of the little internet/cassette label That Hound Records, originally from Edinburgh, currently based in Trento, Italy. Hi Ollie, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks for the very nice introduction, and thanks for inviting me on the podcast. Very excited to be involved. Yeah, cheers.
It's I wanted to get you as soon as I started the podcast because I just knew, like this is gonna be insane. we've been talking before. We've been exchanging musical ideas. We've been in a group chat which probably got us on a watch list.
It's true. That group chat is a liability for both of us and our third member, but it's fine. It's good.
Our third member, who shall remain nameless here or unnamed,
just in case.
Just because we don't want this place to get raided
for legal reasons.
Exactly. Okay, well, Ollie, holy shit, your output, the stuff that you do, is of such a wide range and of universally such high quality that I don't even know where the fuck to start.
No, I appreciate that. I really do. I don't know if I agree with the quality thing, but no, I appreciate that. I don't know, man. That's a good question. Where the fuck do we begin?
Maybe let's just do it really stupid and start chronologically. Like, how did you get into making music? I think you started playing the guitar, right?
Yeah, indeed. That's a very good question. Yeah, no, I started playing guitar when I was, I think, seriously, maybe 9 or 10 years old, so a long time ago now. And don't know, when I first started, I don't know. I think I got into music really through my family. My dad was very into music. He didn't play music, but he was always playing music in the car. Always told me loads of interesting things. And also my granddad on the Italian side of my family played a bit of guitar, a bit of accordion and stuff like that. And so always when I was growing up, heard music. And when I first got into guitar, I was really into I don't know how to describe. I guess you could call it boomer rock now, like all the classic, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. And then I played in a couple of bands in Edinburgh when I was younger. And when I've really started to get involved in music was when actually before that I studied classical guitar when I was in high school. And that was a big thing for me because beforehand I thought just rock music, general, anything that wasn't rock or metal was shit, in my opinion, for a long time. And now I'm the opposite. Now I think everything except for rock is great. But I'm joking. But I started playing classical guitar at school, which really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of other stuff. And then, and I started working in a guitar shop when I was 16 in Edinburgh, and that was a huge thing for me, getting more seriously into music because everybody that worked there was, gigging musicians, really passionate about music, and could meet so many people from the scene, learned about all sorts of strange things, and then there I got really into electronic music as well, which is now my main kind of thing. Because we sold synthesizers and all sorts of weird things, and through getting into conversations with people about that kind of thing took me on that path. But I don't know, man, it's a hard question to answer because it's been such a big part of my life for such a long time that my kind of experience with music has changed so much and is changing constantly all the time. But yeah, I mean, guitar was the first thing. And then I played bass in the main band that I was in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And I guess now I play synthesizers, but I cannot really call myself a keys player because I'm shit. It's more, I'm more on the producing end of things is what I'm into. So yeah.
Mhm.
That's the very brief history. Mm.
I remember this was quite early in our group chat days. I had already listened to some of your electronic music,
Hmm.
namely Oxhead. Listened to that a lot, and then you shared a video with us where you played some legit super fucking scary and difficult classical guitar piece, and my mind was blown because honestly, like, yeah, holy shit, you're so fucking humble. Like, I would never have gotten the idea that the drony, noisy drum machine guy, you know, just sometimes decides to bust out some Bach.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the classical stuff was a huge thing for me because I don't know. Obviously, I guess it's the same with any instrument that you learn in that kind of style. You really learn so much about theory, so much about the history of music, all that stuff that's so important, you know. And I don't know. Yeah, as I said, like I was really into like metal and rock and stuff like that, and still am. But at the time, I remember being really pissed off when I first started school because we had a guitar teacher at the school who
Mhm.
taught everybody. And I remember being like annoyed that he said I couldn't study rock guitar, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I don't know. I was like, I remember being so no, I was still interested in it very much, but I thought, no, come on, I just want to play Metallica riffs or something.
No, he
And
forced you. That teacher forced you to go full Randy Rhoads.
yeah, no, yeah, it's true. But really though, that was hugely important thing for me. Um, Doing that kind of thing. And then in music class in school, I think I told you before, my high school teacher was like really crazy into uh things like Stravinsky and
Mhm.
Schoenberg and all of this kind of like weird shit. And he was, yeah, like a big influence too, because before that I just thought classical music was all Mozart or nice sounds and shit.
Oh yeah.
And when he showed us that kind of stuff, I remember being really blown away. Like, oh my god, there's so much more out there than
Yeah.
I thought. So yeah, playing classical stuff has been a big thing. These days, I still take lessons with my teacher from high school, like the same guy. So all throughout this time, I still learn from him. But yeah, man, it's a
Oh, that's
great
so
it's a
cool.
great passion of mine. But
That's
it's
just
not it's
damn.
not the kind of thing I ever want to. I don't know. I don't think I would ever do a classical guitar release or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's just something that I do for myself, really, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for recreation.
Yeah.
See, however, I just find it amazing that you've had such a long student-teacher relationship with that guy.
Hmm.
You know, that has to be amazing.
Yeah, man, he's fantastic. He's a absolutely incredible guitar player. Really, really cool guy. Actually, I've not spoken to him for a while now, since I moved away, just because I didn't bring a classical guitar with me just for transport reasons.
Oh,
So I need to try and start it back up. But yeah, no, he's been a fantastic teacher to me, really, really.
oh. Okay, yeah, holy shit. Something I totally feel is like your disappointment with like getting into classical music only knowing like Mozart and Beethoven and all
Hmm.
those legitimately classical musicians, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, just the scope shifted.
yeah, for sure. No, I remember one of the things that really blew my mind was because in school we did like the history of music chronologically, starting with very early stuff,
Mhm.
through the Baroque, right up until the 20th century. But I remember when we got to the 20th century, what was it you played? Um, it was the Saint Luke Passion by Penderecki.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, man! Like I remember like hearing that for the first time, and before that, I was still into some sort of weirder stuff as well. But I remember hearing that, and I think it's one of the only pieces of music that like actually fully terrified me. Like it really fucking scared me when we listened to it. Like, and this was before I got into some really freaky music. But man, I remember him playing that in class, and I was just like, what the fuck? How is that even like possible?
Yeah.
But yeah, so cool. Very, very eye-opening.
Honestly, still kind of boggles my mind what like Penderecki did back in the day because like he was such a weird ass workaholic. He was working on the Saint Luke Passion at the same time as like several other pieces.
Yeah, man.
Like
Absolute
Jesus,
genius.
even the fucking notation, you know, with all those like he's, in my opinion, he's still very much a somewhat a classicist somehow, and a kind of traditionalist when it comes to the way that he writes his music down, for example, and even with the aleatoric stuff, like it's all very super organized and just, I mean, scary is really what it is, you know, especially the St. Luke's Passion in that old Slavonic church language, like scary shit.
Yeah, man. I just couldn't believe it. Actually, I remember what he said was the teacher of my class said it was like, guys, I know like if you're a moody teenager, you want to play like, I don't know, goth music or something, you know, to make your parents seem like you're rebelling. But if you really want to scare the shit out of your parents, this is the piece to play in your bedroom. And I was like, yes, come on, incredible, man. Don't get me wrong though, like I still love all the classic stuff, you know, all the Mozart, Beethoven, all that stuff. Obviously, incredible too. But yeah, that was a big moment for me where I just thought, oh my god, you can really, you can really do something like in an orchestral setting or in a class, you know, in an art music. Sorry, it can really be out there and weird and terrifying, but like in a really creative way, you know. But yeah, that was cool. Rest in peace, Penderecki.
That's a huge thing. Just by the way, what are you sipping on?
I'm drinking a Forst beer from the local region. I think it's called Foresta in Italian, but it's from Trento, where I am in Italy, is very near Austria, and the region borders Austria. And I think this beer is from further north, like very, very near Austria. So it's a very German style beer. Very nice though. Very good. How about yourself?
I'm having a comically large bottle of like microbrew ale from Bavaria, which is funny. It's called Jeff's Bavarian Ale, and it's like some Scottish brewer who went to Bavaria. And then, he started making ridiculously expensive beer in super large bottles, which is so good though. That
amazing.
Yeah, I routinely pick it up.
Fuck yeah, that's my other major passion is beer. So this is a good combo.
Okay, let's talk. Let's talk electronic music and all of those facets, because you've released stuff ranging from fairly conventional type acid techno or like acid house kind of music, ranging all the way over to like the weirdest fucking drone shit, the noise stuff, you know, like time stretch jazz samples, that kind of music. What are your thoughts on electronic music? What is it that interests you in all of those idioms?
Fuck, man, that's a big question. It's a very big question. Well, I don't know, man. Let me think. I think for me, like, okay, so when I first really got into electronic music, like, because I don't know, I used to listen to a lot of electronic stuff when I was younger, and admittedly, it was stuff that nowadays makes me want to cry, like a lot of really terrible EDM dubstep, you know, like Skrillex, stuff like that.
Yeah, remember 2012, the golden summer of dubstep? Yeah,
honestly,
that was cringe.
That was the time, man, for real. That was really how I got into this stuff. And but then for a while I had this kind of conflicting thing where like I kind of went off electronic music again because that was the kind of electronic music that I knew. And at a certain point I went, well, that stuff's really shit. So, you know, but then when I started working in this music shop.
Then you played in some noise rock groups and stuff, right? I'd be very glad if you could link that stuff back to me, because I don't think it's on that Hound, and I want like people to have all access to all of that shit.
I'll send some links. It's the problem is I've been in so many different projects, so many different bands in Edinburgh and stuff that like even myself I forget what I've done sometimes. But I'll fire you some links. But yeah, I don't know. Like I think the reason is like that I got really into electronic stuff is because when I first started working in this music shop, I got really into like everybody who worked there was like massively into Warp Records, you know, the classics, Aphex Twin, Boards of Canada, all kind of stuff. And particularly Boards of Canada were huge for me because they're from Edinburgh, so they were a big inspiration for that reason too. And all the bands that I played in, I played guitar or bass, and even if they were very experimental, because you know I was in some like noise rock kind of bands, post rock things, post punk. But the difference for me was that like all that stuff I was playing with other people, which is obviously a great thing and it was fantastic. But I don't know, started to making electronic stuff where it was just myself and I could just do exactly everything as I wanted with no compromises. You know, just me by myself was like a huge important thing as well. So I could do both things at the same time. You know, play with bands half the time and then do my own thing. And then also, I don't know, I think when I really started getting into electronic stuff as well, it was because I got kind of pissed off with guitar at one point. And I do still sometimes, but it was at the time that I got really into like shoegaze and things like Sonic Youth and Jim O'Rourke and these like kind of guitarists who tried to make guitar sound as far away from guitar as possible, you know, and make these fucking bizarre sounds. So at that time, I don't know when, it was maybe when I was like 17 or something like that, like I started getting really into using effects pedals with my guitar. And then I thought like the next logical step is to just run my guitar through my laptop and just process it in all kind of ways that regular equipment couldn't do. But for me, that's a huge thing with electronic stuff in general is like, I don't know, it gives you this possibility to just create sounds that are completely impossible to create on an acoustic instrument, you know. Not to disparage like acoustic instruments at all, because obviously they're still a huge part of what I do, but like, yeah, I remember, I don't know, a really interesting thing for me was when I read, when was it? I can't remember, but I read this interview, I'll try and find it, with, who was it? Maybe it was Eliane Radigue, you know, the drone composer.
Eliane, she's so great.
I think it was her, and she was talking about, you know, Switched On Back.
Yeah.
And she was saying that, like, you know, by Wendy Carlos.
Yeah.
By Wendy Carlos. I think it was her, but she was saying, like, actually a lot of people in that community, and, like, you know, particularly the women who were very big pioneers of synth music, and actually, a lot of them were really pissed off when that Wendy Carlos album came out because she tried to make electronic music sound like an orchestra or sound like conventional instruments. And obviously, it was a huge breakthrough, a huge thing in terms of popular music, and it's incredible. I think it's a big milestone. But what they said was like, what's the fucking point? Like in a way, like all those instruments already exist. You can just play that shit, or you can listen to it from an orchestral standpoint. But the whole point of electronic music and synthesizers and all this weird equipment is you can genuinely make noises that have never existed before, you know. You can create soundscapes that just are impossible otherwise, you know. And I think that for me is exactly it. Like, that's why electronic music is a big important thing for me, because there's so many possibilities, so it's just such a wide scope for creating things, you know. I don't know how to describe that more concretely, but yeah.
Like, basically I can absolutely understand the frustration of people like Eliane Radigue in the, 60s, 70s, to just see that now we have all these novel methods of sound generation. And what do people do with it? They play Bach with it. Like, why the fuck would you do that?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like, nothing against Bach at all, but like new instruments and new sound worlds, they need new repertoire. Or at least they cry for it.
Yeah, man. And I think that's what it kind of comes down to with me, like, for electronic stuff, is it is, I don't know, I don't think it's wrong to be musically retrospective or to play stuff that came before, because obviously at the end of the day I play fucking classical guitar and I played in a 60s sounding band for a long time, so I've got nothing against that kind of thing. But I think, like, electronic music or well, you know, I don't just mean electronic as in dance music, I just mean in general things that are created with, you know, a laptop or synths or anything, you know, it's still to this day like the place where you can really create something that sounds new. You know, it's still a very pioneering genre. It's where it's at the forefront of a lot of this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to say I don't mean that personally, as in I'm pushing any boundaries myself. But I think that's why I like it, because yeah, it's still the place that you can be the most creative.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know about that boundary pushing part. You know, like your most recent projects, they were quite boundary pushing in my opinion. But yeah, let's take a small step back, because I remember like listening to your album Redeemer.
Yeah.
And yo, I had a huge what the fuck mind blow moment when I realized that almost all of the sounds I was hearing were generated with the guitar. So really, your sound design is fucking phenomenal on that.
No, thank you, man.
There are legit some things on that album that sound like nothing else. Where it's just a mystery how those sounds were created. And then there are parts that are like where the guitar sounds reminiscent of like heavy brass instruments or like organ pipes or something. Yo, I was so mind blown listening to that.
Man,
was
that
so good.
I can't thank you enough. That's like genuinely all I ever want to hear. Like that's made me very happy, because that's that was really my mission with that album. Like it just you've made me very happy by saying that. Cheers. But I don't know. I think because for a long time I didn't really use guitar in my music for a while. Just because I don't know, playing in bands was my outlet for playing guitar. So I didn't, like, with my electronic stuff, I didn't really do it much. Maybe sometimes there's a few tracks on my older stuff that I would put things in. But I remember like Redeemer this summer when I did that album. Yeah, that was a time where I just thought, well, I kind of want to give myself a challenge, because I don't know, you'll know yourself, you know, when you try to write something and you've just got too many things to do. Like you've got not too many things to do, but too many things that you can do. So it's like, oh, I can use this synth, or I can use this tape player, or I can whatever, I can use this program, this VST, and it just, you get stuck in this way. I don't know if you do as well, but I definitely do, where I'm like, I've actually got too many options here. That's the only downside with electronic production, is you just have the too many possibilities. So I thought I tried to restrict myself and basically just use guitar as a sound source, and I had a lot of fun doing that. But
I think this is just amazing. Restrictions can have the potential to breed creativity, and it's just really overwhelming looking at all the production methods we have on our hands with a laptop alone. I mean, you've got lots of gear too, but even if you just have a laptop and a DAW and some plugins, oh shit, it's fucking boundless. And you were very clever to restrict yourself, and I, for example, I'm not able to do that. If you listen to Herman's and Does Scott, it's way too much of everything. It makes no sense.
No, but I think that's a good way to work. That's really a way to do things. And I don't know, you need to have a certain kind of self-control, but I found that it's the only way I can actually make myself work. If I say, right, I need to like just do this or just do that, as you say, like when I moved here to Italy, I've only got, let me see, I've got an Electron Model Cycles, the drum machine, sort of FM synth, and a Behringer Crave, and that's it. That's all. Like, because back home I had a fair amount of different gear, loads of different things, and I only brought a couple of things with me because I thought, if I can only use one synth but try and get as much out of it as I can, then that's way more productive than sitting all day, fucking about with things that will never, amount to anything. So I think it's good. Damn. Also, with that, with that album, the Redeemer thing, I think, as I said before, like a huge influence on me in terms of like sound design and just in general are those guitarists from the 90s, My Bloody Valentine, Sonic Youth,
all
that kind of shit. Like, just, I remember that really blew my mind, because I got stuck in this way where like everything I played on guitar would just sound the same, and because you get stuck on an instrument, when you know it so well, and just hearing these guys and you're like, oh my god, how the fuck is that guitar that's making that noise? Like it's just next level. And that was a huge thing for me. And also, do you know Fenez, the ambient guy from Austria? I think is he? Him as well. Like when you listen to his stuff, it's the same. He's running his guitar through a laptop, and it's just like otherworldly, strange, glitchy noises, and it's fascinating. Like I love that kind of thing.
Crazy shit. Yeah.
Mhm.
One more question regarding Redeemer, or actually, even more broadly speaking, Redeemer is just a good example. Now, Redeemer is based on like certain abstract religious, philosophical, spiritual notions, right?
Indeed.
That come from quite a wide range of influences. Can you tell us something a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, this is now we're getting into the real, the real grit. Fuck, let me think. At the time, I was really, well, I still am, but like really, really interested in like basically the end of the world as it's presented in different religions, particularly like the Book of Revelation, and also uh, there's a lot of like Sufi literature about this kind of shit as well. But I don't know. It's just everything that I read kind of influences the music I make in a way.
Yeah,
And
you're
I don't really know
so
how to
influenced by like textual sources, which is
yeah,
just so cool
big
to me.
time. But the idea is that it's a common trope, not just religiously, strictly speaking, but in terms of myth, in terms of like cultural things. This idea of like an apocalypse or the end of the world or something, or particularly in Hinduism as well, the idea that they'll reach a point when everything just dissolves into chaos and goes fucking crazy.
Oh.
And then there's this, that's why I called it Redeemer, because often there'll be then a figure that represents salvation or represents, a return to order or a return to whatever. And I think that's why I called it Redeemer, because it's the idea. I don't know particularly personally how far I actually believe any of that, but it's very interesting. I like that as a like literary concept or as an idea. It's interesting,
Just considering these ideas. It's extremely inspiring, and it's I don't know, just kind of cautiously considering these things can do the world. Talking about inspiration and psychodrama, and holy shit, so good.
And I think as well, like at the time, I don't know. I think I was kind of not in a bad way, but like I was feeling just really pissed off with the whole just the world, I guess. Not in an edgy way, but I was feeling very pissed off about the pandemic and all this kind of stuff. And don't know, it's just a nice idea to think there's a light at the end of the tunnel in that way. And I thought these religious stories like this are very inspiring in the way that everything can go completely fucked, can go completely into chaos, but then there's still some hope left at the end. There's something good can come from it, if you know what I mean. I don't know. I'm not the most skilled preacher in terms of this kind of stuff, but yeah, no, I like that idea though very much.
Yeah, I think you can be either a good preacher or a person who kind of considers it creatively and warps it. It's rare that it comes, both in one person.
Yeah, totally.
That's Redeemer, I guess. Let's talk a little bit about Oxhead, which is a very different kind of project. I guess for our listeners who might not have checked it out before, I guess it's somewhat industrial adjacent, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, where does that come from? Like, what's the origin the origin story of the Oxhead moniker?
Okay, so that let me think. I started that was really my first ever thing that I did like by myself that released electronic stuff properly. I did some terrible shit beforehand that I think I've managed to wipe off the internet forever, which is good. But that was at a time when I worked in this music shop I spoke about in Edinburgh, and at the time, actually, shout out to my friend. I don't know if you'll hear this, but my old colleague Murray, he was like a huge influence for me, like back in the day, because I don't know, because at the time I was really into Aphex Twin, Square Pusher, Boards of Canada, all that kind of stuff. But I was also really into like sound collage and like just weird tape experiments and stuff. But he is a crucial point he was like he came at a crucial time in my life because he was the first guy that introduced me to Throb and Gristle, which just fucking blew my mind. Like still one of the most important bands for me, like in terms of influences. But we used to always speak together because he was really he made a lot of really interesting electronic music himself. And for me, like electronic music, just from listening to, even though I was into like Aphex Twin and stuff, which is a bit bizarre sometimes, electronic music was still like melodic and beat based most of the time.
Yeah.
And then when we started talking about, you know, Drum and Gristle, Coil, all this kind of stuff, we both were like really into it at the same time, and we were like, well, we want to try and make stuff that's like noise. Because I was really just before that I got really into noise music, just, you know, general harsh noise, which is obviously completely abstract and completely fucking weird. And the idea with that, I guess, like the first few things I did with that was like trying to match like noise music but with beats, so you can still, you know, still have something that's going on rhythmically that you can latch onto, but the rest of it's just complete chaos or completely weird shit or drony stuff or whatever. And nowadays I realize that's not as boundary pushing as I thought it was. But no, that was like the first real thing. I actually have no idea where the name came from though. Like I know it's always good to have a nice story about your names, but I've actually I cannot remember why on earth I chose that name. Yeah, no fucking clue where it came from. But anyway, that was my main thing for a long time, and yeah, I've used so many different names over the years, but like it's hard to describe because like I don't know why I put things out under different names, but I can always tell if something sounds like an Oxhead release, then it is an Oxhead release.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, I just know. But yeah, that was kind of it. And yeah, the first gigs that I ever did as an electronic musician were under that name. So it was my first real like experimental project that I ever did. So yeah.
Now the Oxhead things, are they also in some way textually inspired? Because I remember you did a live stream concert at some point, and there were video projections going on with the music, and I don't really remember the content. I think it was something like Thatcher documentaries, you know, and like rough ass late capitalist visuals. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think to answer your question, like yes, because like everything that I do comes from stuff that I've read. Like it's really bizarre. Obviously, music is the main influence, but like I don't know how to describe it, but like I really am inspired by things that I've read. And like, you know, my first degree in Edinburgh that I studied at uni was history and literature. So like all the time I was reading stuff, often very depressing things or like edgy things or strange, I don't know, religious things and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's like, I don't know how to talk about it without sounding extremely pretentious, but like it's good being influenced musically because obviously that's the main thing. Like you get all your ideas from stuff that you've heard. But I think like taking inspiration from novels or like history, things that have actually happened in the past, like they conjure like images in your mind that you can try and recreate. And like for me as well, like I'm hugely into listening to soundtracks for films and stuff like that, because like trying to match music to a certain image or a certain emotion or a certain you know, I don't know, certain storyline or something that you have in your head is a great way to inspire yourself, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know, I think everything that I do has always been like equal parts at least inspired by music and like other, like, you know, non-musical sources.
Yeah. Fucking fantastic. Now, what's the textual inspiration for Nostratic Kool-Aid as a test?
Oh fuck. God. Okay. Actually, I'm glad you asked about this one, because actually this is the only album that I've ever released a list of like inspirations for every song for. I don't know if you saw, I made a zine, like a digital zine at one point for it. Maybe you can put a link to it.
Yeah, exactly. Links will be found in the description.
If I can fucking my my hard drive is a complete mess, so let me try and find it. Man, so many like weird influences on this one. But it's basically like I don't know, like I just spend all the time reading weird shit, watching weird documentaries and stuff, and they always inspire me. Actually, the main thing that I was really into at the time when I wrote that was the Netflix documentary called Wild Wild Country, about Osho. Um, and that was just like I don't know, really fascinating. I really loved the visual aspect of that, because all the footage is from the 70s and 80s and all this like very cool looking blown out like VHS footage, and obviously the story is really interesting too. Lots of interest in
I
this.
found the zine, by the way. You don't have to look for a link. I found it.
Cool. Have you got it?
Yeah.
Great, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna link to that. It's just it's a lot to get into, but like even musically, it's so all over the place. Like if I'm just reading from the genre tags on Bandcamp, there's acid house, IDM, ambient, drone, sound collage. Yeah, holy shit! I was a little bit skeptical when this dropped. I was like, can this work? How does it flow? How do you start with techno and then go somewhere else? And but it actually works. It actually really fucking works.
Yeah. I don't know. I tried. I don't know. A lot of the time when I write stuff, I just like I don't think too much about the structure of the album that much until the very end. But this one I actually wrote with a real kind of structure in mind, because I wrote all these like little interludes between the tracks, and I knew that I wanted to do that, but I had to basically create them. So I wrote a track list. With like gaps in it for songs that I needed to write in the future, if you know what I mean. So I'm glad it turned out nice. But yeah, I don't know. Like in terms of the inspirations for it, they're kind of all over the place. Like definitely Wild Wild Country. That documentary was a huge one. And the track on the album called Wasco County Sheriff is a direct reference to the town that took place in. But I don't know. There's all sorts of shit. But if people can find the zine, you can read. I put inspired by for like nearly for all the main tracks. For the interludes, I didn't put anything, but for the main tracks, I've put the things that influenced me, both musical and non-musical. Yeah. But,
yeah, that's it's really like I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to really talk about that album. I just really need y'all to listen to it because it's a fucking trip. Like there's no coincidence that Acid Test is in the title, even though you aren't as indulgent as I am when talking about this kind of shit. I can definitely confirm this is psychedelic as fuck.
No, I really appreciate that, dude. Like big time, because I don't know. I always have doubts when I do this kind of shit because I'm like, is anybody gonna like? Don't know. Is it too bizarre or too many things going on or whatever? But it makes me very happy to hear that people appreciate it. Very much.
This is a album you put out on your little net label, that Hound Records. Or actually not that little anymore. It actually kind of grew into quite the empire over the years. Can you tell me how all of that started and how it snowballed into what we have now?
Okay, yeah. So basically, the first stuff I ever put out was when I was like maybe 15, and I had I had a project that I recorded in my bed. Like when I first bought some recording equipment when I was much younger, and I was really, really into like blues music, and I released some blues rock kind of guitar solo stuff, that is honestly very embarrassing to me now. So I hope it's all removed from the internet. But yeah, like basically like came up with that label name just as like it started just as it wasn't meant to really be a label or anything. It was just like just a page to put my stuff on. It wasn't meant to be a label really or anything like that. It was just meant to be a place that I could put my stuff online to just share with my friends or whatever. And then I don't know. I started releasing stuff on there a bit more seriously, like throughout the couple of years I did that blues stuff, but I never really thought anything major of it. And then when I started the Oxhead project, when that was when I was a bit more involved in the scene, a bit more involved musically and stuff like that. Then I kind of deleted everything and started again with that stuff. And then one of my colleagues at the old shop that I worked at asked me oh, cool, if you have a label, can I release something on there? And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, not really thinking, I didn't really think anything of it, but I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then over time, yeah, I just started releasing stuff, and almost everything was digital at the start. And I released a couple of tapes of my own, but just to sell at gigs, nothing serious. But then the big thing came, I released me and a couple other people, but it was never really, I wasn't really that serious about it. It was just a platform for me to put things on. And then, I don't know, a few years ago now, I got an email from the British Library in London, and they have like a sound archive there where they try to archive like every single release that's been put out in the UK, like digitally. And they emailed me saying that they found the Bandcamp page. I don't know how, but they came across it and asked if I could send them the back catalogue so they could archive it, and then they would keep up to date and put every new release on there too. And I was like, yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is like really. It was just in general cool to see that people actually had heard about it. But then at that time, I thought, well, this is cool because I've got a label then, but I've also got like not a selling point, but like something that I can say to people, if you release through this label, then it'll be archived in the British Library forever as well, which is really cool. But that email, like that, getting involved with that really made me start thinking about it a bit more seriously, where I thought, well, actually, I can do things for people this way, and I was very active on the music scene in Edinburgh as well for a long time, and it was nice to be able to release music by my friends, or particularly like people that I knew were making interesting music but had never put anything out, so I could kind of harass them into like releasing something. But yeah, that was cool. And then let me think, what was I going to say? Man, I've lost my train of thought. But the other major thing that happened was like I was really into tapes, like in cassettes for a while, and then I got really into like the harsh noise scene and stuff like that, particularly through, as I'm sure you know, the PMC Facebook group.
Oh yeah,
that was very popular for a long time. Kind of
on this podcast we don't talk about PMC.
Yeah, no, it's a touchy subject now. Yeah. For a long time though, like.
It started out controversial and it just got worse.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually, a lot of the people in there on that site were really cool in the early stages because they were very supportive of every other member's music. And I got in contact with Ethan Bellhouse from Australia.
So great! Yeah, he's really the greatest. Cool guy. I'm gonna have him on sometime here on this podcast.
Amazing guy, and released something for him. And yeah, like loads of people were very, very supportive. Also, Jess Kim, who was one of the admins.
Jess Kim actually drew a cover for me, an album art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Demence, my first serious album, I guess.
Such a small world indeed on these communities, but that was really cool though. All those people were really supportive, and also just through groups like that and other like harsh noise groups and stuff, got really into tapes as a format. And it was kind of like because I thought they were cool, but also like just financially as well, it's like much cheaper to release tapes than it is vinyl or CDs. But I like tapes because they're still like the standard format for like really weird releases, for noise, drone and stuff like that. Tapes are a big thing. But the reason that I started making it more like a tape label was in Edinburgh I met Mikau, who runs Chaska Records in Edinburgh, and a guy called Joe Cockhill, who's an amazing, really forward-thinking.
Not to be confused with Joe Cocker.
Yeah, no, absolutely not him. That would be a fucking bizarre story indeed.
Yeah, so I worked with Joe Cocker. What?
As we all know, he was very into noise music, huge noise music fan. But Joe Cockhill, he's an incredible. I urge people to check him out as well because his electronic music is fascinating. But I met those guys, I don't know, a few years ago now, and Mikau's label. He's a Polish guy, but he lives in Edinburgh. Really good friends still, and he runs this really cool label, this tape label, and both those guys were releasing stuff on cassette at that time, and we all started, getting to know each other. And for me, getting to know those guys and hearing about his experiences running the label and everything were massive for me too. And then, since then, I don't know what's happened. Actually, in a way, the pandemic was a great thing for the label, because not so much anymore, but like at the start when everybody was just on their computers all day, and music online became a huge thing, like particularly in the Edinburgh scene, like so many live streams all the time, so many new groups being formed, so many like weird things, and it really managed. Like I managed to like expand it a bit more beyond just Edinburgh. So since then I've released stuff by people from all over the place, all over Europe, people in America, stuff like that. So it's been cool to do that. Like I hate sitting in front of my laptop all day, but don't know, in a way for that period when everybody was just online on social media like continually, it was a great time to be promoting music and stuff because people actually had the time when they were at home to just sit down and listen to a tape or sit down, if people weren't going to work or whatever. Then yeah, it was quite good. So yeah, since then it's still going. I don't know what else to say. Still going strong. It's become a bit trickier since I've moved to Italy because, as I've told you, the postal service here is a fucking nightmare to navigate compared to the way it was in the UK. So physical releases are a bit tricky to coordinate just now. But luckily, I've got some friends back at home who have been very helpful, and also my family have been very helpful and stuff, trying to logistically sort shipping out and all this kind of stuff. But I'm still very happy with the way things are going, and that's basically the history.
Yeah.
Oh, also, it was kind of sorry, I don't want to talk too much.
No problem. Keep going.
It was very much linked as well to I used to run a kind of like I don't want to say promotion company, but like basically a group of we call that a collective called the Orpheus Collective. Me and a few friends used to run gigs in Edinburgh fairly frequently when we were in uni.
Morpheus, Dorpheus, go.
Oh man, yeah, no, it was great that we ran this this thing. And we used to do like I don't know, DJ nights, and then we would put band nights on where it was like 5 or 6 people, in a night. But we tried to kind of push back a bit because, with a few exceptions, or a few incredible exceptions, but a lot of the time for us when we were a bit younger, all the band nights that you could play at in Edinburgh were like you either had to be like a metal band or like a singer-songwriter, and that was mostly it. And if you wanted to do electronic music, it had to be like in an actual like club night setting as a DJ, and there wasn't much outlet for somebody to do more experimental stuff just as a gig. Do you know what I mean?
Which is always a challenge, like regardless of circumstances.
Yeah, for sure. So we used to run these gigs together, and I really miss it actually. It was a really fun time, and we did all these things. But the label was very much linked to that as well. So we would put an album out by somebody and then have them play a show, or it was very much linked to that. And a lot of the people that I released on the label who were from Edinburgh were people that I met through doing those gigs. So yeah, that was another part of the story. But yeah, that's about it, I think, for now.
Okay, yeah, we've covered. I think we've pretty much covered everything, right? Is there anything you want to mention? Anything you want to plug? Any upcoming projects?
Good question. I have a few tapes in the works for people that aren't 100% confirmed yet, so I won't say anything.
Okay.
Because they're still up in the air. But when is this going out? The episode. When will this be released?
Oh, sheesh, I haven't decided yet whether it will be this Sunday or next Sunday, but it will be within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, cool. So on this Friday, which might not be this Friday by the time you hear this, but I'm releasing a new album by Austin Barnes, also known as Berlin Anatomy, and he also lived here with me in Italy for a bit, part of Viennese Vacuum Cleaner, our synth pop project.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm releasing an album by him, which is a really like bizarre but really cool. This is the problem with most of the people that are released. Like I don't even have any idea how to describe what their music sounds like. But this is basically an experimental hip hop album, I guess.
Wow.
With a lot of like dark wave influences, and I don't know. He's got this like crazy thing going on. I've released quite a few things by him. He's still a very good friend, and yeah, makes some fascinating stuff. But now he's gotten really into these like percussive things, like this way of writing beats that is just like mind melding, so strange, really really bizarre stuff. But he has a real skill of writing this very out there, like strange avant-garde kind of like electronic stuff, but he still makes really catchy songs, and it's bizarre to me how he does it, because you get his songs stuck in your head forever, even though they're like really fucking weird, and yeah, it's cool. So I've got that coming out, and the other day I finished an EP myself, which will be out at some point soon. I think I'm just going to do it digitally. 4 new tracks from me. And aside from that, yeah, there's a few physical releases coming up that that aren't quite ready yet, but will be soon. And yeah, I'd also like to plug the radio show that I do once a month for Lakma Tune Radio in Budapest, through the label. Yeah, once a month I do a mix of just it changes every month, kind of weird stuff. But big shout out to them, the radio station, because they've been incredible to me. Really, really cool guys. And very, very nice to host me every month. But I do like, it might be interesting for people, because I do my own mixes, but then every couple of months I'll get like a guest artist to create a mix of their influences. So there's a lot of like weird stuff in there, very bizarre. And yeah, if anyone wants to check that out, they can. I'm sure Paul can put a link in. But yeah. I think that's all I have to say.
Damn. All right, I guess we got it covered. Y'all have been listening to Fold by Fold. Today it was a huge pleasure for me to talk to composer, guitarist, producer, label owner Ollie Turbitt from Edinburgh or Trento. Yeah, bye everybody. We'll meet again next week talking to Kleisner.
Before we go, can I say one thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I want to say thank you very much to you for having me here, and everybody needs to know that you're a fantastic musician too. Also, a huge influence for me in many ways too, the past couple of years that we've been speaking to each other, because you've shown me so many weird things that I would never have known about musically, and in terms of art and film.
Yo, shit, we've gone 50 minutes without talking about our hermanitch addiction. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Wow. A huge moment in my life, for real.
Yeah, crazy. Thank you, man, though. Honestly, I really fucking appreciate it. Yeah, this has been a wonderful episode. To y'all listeners, we'll meet again next week talking to Kleisner. This was Ollie Turbitt. Check the shit out. It's all in the description. Bye-bye.
Bye.